Hey traders, and welcome to this week's weekly stock market wrap up, and we're just about to get into it with the S&P 500 here. Now, what we can see here in future is we can potentially drag this out a little bit further. Just bring it out here. Now, what we can potentially see, if you remember, our last video was back at this candle here. A couple of options were, pop lower and then head higher. Or the next one was to just pop higher, which was a higher probability. Why? Because it's with the trend and a few other confidence areas. Now, if you're part of our course, you'll know exactly why and what we were looking at to see how we can gauge the likes of this and how we come up with the probabilities for it. Now, the next thing we could potentially see is a quick pop higher back into this zone here. Now, we could be met with sellers in here, and there's also another thing. Anyone who's been shorting these pops here will probably have stops sitting here, so there is a good chance we actually surge higher into next week if this momentum is to really keep up. Now, the other thing is if sellers really step into here, which they could do, because anyone who's been longing since down here and here or even here will start to look to take profits. Now, this is a Friday candle, so as you can see, there's a bit of buying here, which is good. Now, if we'd seen a selling bar, we could have seen people taking profits. So they're not taking profits just yet, which is interesting. So if we do see sellers, we could see something like this. Maybe not as deep as that, but maybe a quick pullback to here. And then there's another option, which we come back into here and then break higher. That would cause a lot more momentum, in my opinion. I think that's the highest probability sort of setup. Equally to a blow off top sort of pattern here, getting rid of all these shorts here, sitting here with stop losses roughly in around here. So keep an eye on that. Obviously we can have another option, which is to head lower and trade back within this range sort of area. So there's a couple of options there to look at. Highest probability one is probably the second one. Now we'll need to keep an eye on that and just see how it goes. UVXY, everyone again was looking at this for potential longs last week. Did pop a little bit higher, but it just wasn't sustained. So there's not enough fear in the market, so it still needs to, you need to keep an eye on this to sort of gauge if you want to, as what you want to do next. We'll be covering that in further blog posts. Now, with the US oil, we've seen a nice move higher here, and so what we can potentially see, let me see if I can get rid of this. What we can see potentially next week, or this week coming, is again stop losses will be sitting just here, so we're very, very close. Could see a quick pop higher, pull back, something like this. And then start to do something like that is a decent probability. Or we could just pop higher and then keep going higher. So, something like this, where it pops higher and then just keeps going. So a couple of areas to sort of keep an eye on and see how things react for next week. Lithium, not too bad of a ETF chart here. It's given us good ideas for the individual stocks which we're long still and building positions in. So it's good to see this is starting to set up as well very nicely. Bitcoin, after that pop last week, it's pretty much done nothing. So again, it's not really anything really worth looking at. The stocks that we were looking at in our blog post last week, we did take a few positions in then, and we've exited those positions pretty much break even or a small profit because nothing really happened. So just one of those things. Let's see, Ripple. Nothing new there, so no need to look at it. Gold, very interesting setup here. Starting to break higher. It seems to have broken out of, if you look at intraday, there's a bit more of a bullish flag here. As you can see there, breaking out higher very nicely. We could see a retest of this trend line here, which is very key. and then this resistive zone up here. Something to keep an eye on. Neo, I started back into this a little bit. Reasonably safe stops are in place still, so just keep an eye on that one. IQ, covered in the weekly newsletter. The position, nothing much more to say about it than that, but it was a good, really nice trade. OSTK, still trending really nicely here at the bottom. If you look on the longer term chart, still looking really good. We'll need to see how it reacts over the next few weeks and see what we're going to do next with it. Fitbit, let's see. Not an awful lot happening. There was a nice surge from start of 2019, so pullbacks will be watched more closely at the minute and see what sort of price action presents us, and yeah, just go from there. So hope you enjoyed this. There wasn't much fundamental stuff in this one at the minute that I can think of, but anyway, if there is anything that comes up, we'll put them into the blog post as per usual. And yeah, enjoy your week, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.